The Dawnbreaker is a 3-boss dungeon returning for the War Within Season 3. Help General Steelstrike and her crew fight off the Anub'ikkaj threat as you zip through the skies. The leader of the Order of the Night, Speaker Shadowcrown, is the first boss we battle on the deck of the Dawnbreaker. Dodge her beams and be prepared to take flight. Shadow Bolt, a magic attack that you can and should interrupt. Obsidian Beam. Shadowcrown radiates dark energy from her body and slowly rotates. Choose a pie slice and move with the rotation. Tanks. Make sure you have a defensive ready for this, as the initial hit from the cast deals heavy damage to her target. Burning Shadows. A heavy dot that applies Shadow Shroud, a healing absorb, to 4 players when dispelled. Collapsing Night. Shadowcrown marks 2 players' locations and spawns void circles at their feet. These void zones damage anyone standing in them. Stack as a group to bait these along the edge of the ship and then move immediately upon cast completion to ensure you have plenty of space to safely navigate the next Obsidian Beam. Darkness Comes. At 50% and 1% health, Shadowcrown unleashes a massive explosion that engulfs the entirety of the ship. Mount up and fly off to the sides until the explosion finishes, and then dash back to the ship. For the second Darkness Comes phase, you can head directly to the town itself for your next pull and ignore the boss, as she'll die at the end of the cast. The second boss, Anub'ikkaj, is a brilliant tactician whose forces crash upon Mereldar in a massive assault. It's bug hunting time. Empowered Might. While Anub'ikkaj's lieutenants are alive, he gains 50% health and 30% more damage per lieutenant. You'll need to kill them first before tackling the boss. Dark Orb. Anub'ikkaj hurls a giant ball of void energy at a random target. The orb travels slowly in a straight line, its trajectory based entirely off the direction in which the targeted player aims it. The orb explodes when it hits anything in its path, dealing fall-off damage based on the distance from the group. Aim the orb so that it travels far from the group before colliding with a building or environmental detail. Be sure you sidestep the orb. As it approaches your location, it leaves a nasty dot if it hits you. Terrifying Slam. This is a tank buster that includes a knockback. If you're a tank with a charge ability like Warrior or Bear, you can use this to close the gap back to the boss. If you don't have a way to prevent a knock or to charge back in, you can stand against this lamppost to avoid the knockback altogether. For everyone else, standing in the circle when it expires will deal a big chunk of damage and fear you. So if your tank isn't moving away with the intention of charging in, you'll need to get out of the circle. Shadowy Decay. An AoE cast that lasts 5 seconds. Healers will want to have a cooldown planned for this. Animate Shadows. Anub'ikkaj calls forth an army of adds to aid him. Gather them up quickly and interrupt their casts of congealed darkness while nuking them down. The final encounter of the Dawnbreaker pits us against the winged horror Rasha-nan. This 2-stage fight begins with a battle on board the Dawnbreaker itself before we find ourselves chasing the monstrous insect across Hallowfall for the final stand. The following are the Stage 1 mechanics. When no one is in melee range of the boss, she'll explode with massive damage to the whole party. Tanks, remember that Rasha-nan is stationary. Be sure you're in range at all times. Expel Webs. These player-targeted lines originate from the boss. Move out of the circles to avoid the damage and the root. Rolling Acid. Rasha-nan targets one player with a giant green wave. Move the wave away from your party in the direction it will shoot so that it doesn't wash over them. The player marked will take a hit of damage and be stunned briefly, but if you are caught in the wave, you'll receive a heavy dot. Arathi Bombs. Nightfall bombers will fly by, tossing explosives onto the deck of the ship. Pick up these barrels and run into melee range to toss them at the boss. Hitting her with 6 bombs total will trigger intermission. If your group neglects to throw the bombs, not only will your fight take much longer, but the bombs will explode on the deck for party-wide damage. Erosive Spray. A party-wide AoE that pulses damage. During intermission, the party will need to mount up and fly to the Veneration Grounds to finish the fight. You can fly directly there and do not have to follow Rasha-nan. In Stage 2, some of the mechanics are the same, but there are 2 differences. Acidic Eruption. Interrupt is cast when the party is landed and the tank is in melee range of the boss. Spinneret's Strands. 2 players will be marked with large web blasts. Run the casts out from the center of the platform, as when they explode, they'll leave a large webbed area of denial on the ground. After the explosion, the targeted players will be slowed as they run out of the goo and get back to the boss. The fight ends when Rasha-nan hits 60% health. And that's Dawnbreaker, a fun dungeon returning from Season 1 with some new visual updates and a fresh coat of paint on the enemy abilities. Armed with these tips, we know you'll be well prepared to take back Hallowfall. For more in-depth information on useful abilities and pathing, check out the weekly route at RaiderIO. If you enjoyed this guide, please like and subscribe for more Season 3 content from the War Within.